But now we go into really fun things, actually, with Sandra here, talking about the red team and what they are doing. Please, Sandra.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. And thank you to the organization to invite us to share with you our experience, at least in my case, from the red team perspective. And also, it's a nice opportunity just to share some knowledge and experience with key people just in this sector. So just a little bit about me. I'm working at the center from December of 2017 as a pen tester. Previously, I'm from Spain, so I was working in the Spanish Joint Cyber Command. I used to work as a pen tester, but previously I was working also in the forensic field. Particularly in the case of LogShield, I was a blue teamer during 2 years in my nation. So I have like both perspective and experience, just to be in both sides. But also, some years ago, I decided just to move to the red team. And just in my opinion, it's more funny, at least for me. We have exactly the same stress during 2 days, 2 very, very long days. As a blue teamer, I can say exactly that. Probably our colleagues from the blue team of this country can say probably the same. But also in the red team, we have to work hard and a lot, just try to complicate the life to the blue teamers as much as we can. So, but we are part of the organization. I mean, we are not the main audience of the exercise. The main audience are there, the blue teams. Why? Because we want just to give the opportunity just to the nations to train exactly the same if they are expecting and living exactly the same attacks in their own infrastructure in the real life. So this exercise is just to train the blue teams, the nations. So give the opportunity just to work with different technologies in order just to be prepared and defense in the real war. So the red team mainly we act like hackers. So we had to hack all of the systems of the blue teams that they are responsible for defense. So we have to provide a real challenge for all of them. And just try to remember some numbers that Thomas or probably Michael just gave you previously, that for the exercise, we're running more than 4,000 virtual machines at the same time in the cyber range, as Silver explained before. This year, 23 blue teams has been participating in the exercise. And it's, we usually say that for this year, we have conducted more than 2,500 attacks. So if you can imagine that per blue team, it's an average of 50 people, and we have 23 blue teams, we are talking about like more than 1,000 people defending their own networks. So I really want to ask you, just in your opinion, what do you think that is the number of red teamers in the red team? Can you please tell me a number?
Just 20.
So we can just say probably 50, 100, hundreds of people. But no, we are only 77. Probably you are thinking that we are too many people. But in real, we have like many different profiles. We have different skills. All of us, mainly, we are pen testers from many different nations. So the key factor is just to be completely coordinated. And we have to collaborate between us. Because probably you are the best pen tester in your nation, but you have to be like the best in the team, working with the rest of the team. Because if not, the attacks won't be successful. Exactly the same occurs in the blue team. The blue teams probably they have like different profiles with different skills, but they have to work in team and they have to try to talk with the rest of the key person in the team, and try also just to share all the experience, everything that is happening on the wire with the rest of the team. So how can we organize everything in the red team? Okay, we are acting as a whole team, as a unique team, but we are 77, you remember? So we have to divide in different sub-teams in order just to separate like our different skills, and also just to attack like different machines, services, and with different techniques. So we have one red team overall leader and a deputy leader. They are controlling everything during all the exercise. And also we are mainly divided in 3 sub-teams: client-side, net, and web. In client-side we have more than one. We have many of them, and we are responsible just to attack more of the workstation servers and so on. And we have to provide some shells just to share with the net guys or with the web guys in order just to set up some pivots or some SOX proxy in order just to send them the shells. So in the client side, we have like per each of them, we have one leader, the members of the team, and also the reporter. The reporter it's also an important person in the team, because we have to provide all the evidences of our attacks. So we have to give and present a lot of evidence, just like the time, the user that we are, like root or system or just a normal user, the IP and many other different details, just to prove that we are inside the system. So the reporter just must inform about all of this with some screenshots and so on. And when we show in some screens that we have during the gameplay, during the execution of the exercise, if we are just seeing that we have done some attacks, and we see on the screen that for a specific blue team or different blue teams, that the scoring, the points are just going down, we just say, oh, why? We did it. So it's really, really funny, that part. Also, we have one overall client-side access manager. Why? Exactly the same that I was talking before, because we need to share some cells with the rest of the team. The client-side access manager is responsible just to set up the persistence in many or in all of the systems that we have attacked, and also just to share with the net guys and the web guys. The other sub-team is the web sub-team. It's composed mainly by the members of the team, and also they have one technical leader. And they are responsible just to attack mainly web servers, applications, and the backend, and also the databases and so on. In the case of the sub-team, the net sub-team, we have as well an overall leader, specifically in this sub-team, and the members. And we are responsible just to attack the routers, firewalls, and the special system that Silver has been explaining previously. Also, we have a liaison between the green team and the red team in order just to inform everything about the scoring, just to like wasting a lot of points to the blue team. And also we have like a collaboration between the red team and green team, just for the workflow tooling, and also the user simulation team. The user simulation team, it's a very nice team that we work with, because in some cases that I'm going just to explain that part later, they are acting as normal workers in a company or in an organization. So probably you can just imagine what they are doing. Probably the same at the first conference, the opening conference done this morning. It's like normal user that they are just reading emails, clicking in some links, open some documents. Probably you can just imagine that some payloads are inside. So that's one of the strategies that we are in the systems. So mainly, our attack campaign. As you can imagine, just in general, in real life, the attacks are not done just in 2 days. They are needed like weeks, months, probably in some cases a year. So we are just playing as red team only in 2 days. So our approach, it's a white box pen testing. So it's like we have been working with the green team in order just to set up everything and just to put just some backdoors or something like that that we can just use in the execution. So it's not, everything is not completely clean. The blue teams need to do something before, just at the start text. But they have like 30 minutes just to try to update everything, or just try to change the configuration, or just try to detect our backdoors, or many other different techniques. So they have like an advantage of 30 minutes, and after that we are prepared, like the countdown, 3, 2, 1, red team, go. So, but just at this time, everything has changed, because probably the blue teams are really, really nice, just working in only 30 minutes, but everything is scripted, come on. So we have to adapt every time and every second to every blue team. So the situation just it's been changing like second or minute by minute. We have to adapt to all of them, and specifically to the techniques that they are using. So all of the attacks are just classified in 4 different phases with a total of 77 objectives. So seeing into the subteam that I explained before, in the case of client side, we have like 21 objectives with a maximal impact of points of around more than 13,000 points. In the case of web and net, they are like similar, and we have like 28 objectives, and with a maximal impact of points more than 2,000. So everything, it's divided in different phases, and in every different phases we are just doing different things. So in the client side, we have 4 main phases. In the first one, we are responsible just to compromise most of the workstation that you have been seeing on the screen previously that Silver just showed you. In the second phase, we have to compromise the domain controllers, and also just to maintain the shells over the workstation. Workstation in Linux, in Mac OS, in Windows, sure. In the phase 3, we have to compromise and to maintain the previous workstation, the domain controllers, and also just try to hack as well the file servers. Also, we have to share, if it's needed, with the rest of the teams, with the rest of the red team, with the net and web guys, all of the shell that probably they need just to attack another system that just from the very beginning, they couldn't do it. So we act like a whole team just for this. And for sure, the most important part, the last phase, just to destroy everything. So, in client side, probably you can just imagine that we are, all of us, using Kali Linux, but also it depends. It's completely up to us. But mainly in client side, we use Cobalt Strike. Probably you can just listen on the attack of this morning. It's quite like common framework, just you use mostly in red teaming. Not in pen testing, but mainly in red teaming activities. So we use unique payloads, not only with the artifact kit, we try to modify all the payloads. And it depends on every blue team, we have to adapt to the defenses that they are just working on that. So also we use unique network profiles, just using, for example, some certificates from the certification authority provided by the green team, because we really want just to avoid the detection over the network from the blue team perspective. And also we use like unique workflows. We use PowerShell, we use Python, we use HTAs, we use Visual Basic, but as I said previously, we are just doing like unique. We cannot use exactly the same payload with one of the workstations, or probably with the rest, or with the rest of the blue teams. So because we have to modify everything. And also, we are not only using Cobalt. We can just set up a command and control and also just to try to generate different payloads with Empire. And in some cases, we use Metasploit as well. But for sure, we have to obfuscate all of our codes. Because the blue teamers, they can just install everything that they want in the workstation or in every system. So they are just installing some antivirus. We have to bypass the different antivirus, so we have to obfuscate our code. Sometimes it works, sometimes not. So it depends on the blue team. Also, we use Vilivation for that, and for sure Shelter. Just try to combine with normal binaries. Also, we are using known and custom malware in most of the workstation, but it depends on the blue team if it's detected or not. But we are using some command and control directly just to send some payloads directly to the workstation. And for sure, we try to script everything. And it's up to every person in the red team and also in the client side, use our imagination, use our experience, and use many different techniques with the different blue teams. So our methodology, probably it's common. So depending on the phases, but first of all, we get the foothold and most of the workstation and in the servers through, for example, RDP sessions that they have been open in IPv4 or IPv6. We just send some payloads through the known or custom malware, or just we request to the user simulation team that are just sending an email or just to open a link in the web browser, or just to send some PowerShell or Python scripts. After that, we try to do the privilege escalation. We can just use some kernel vulnerabilities, or we can just use some backdoors that are previously on the systems. After that, we have to move to do the lateral movement through WMI with PowerShell remoting with different techniques, or just using the same accounts that we have like download from that specific machine. And for sure, we have to do some persistence because some routines just, okay, I have to restart the system and that's all. No, if we gain persistence over the system, we can just maintain during the whole 2 days. That is the execution of the exercise. That's all for the client side subteam. So referring to the web subteam, mainly the objectives, if you remember all of the network diagram, it's just try to attack the web servers, but mainly they are all in the DMZ. The phases are exactly the same. We have like 4 phases. In the first one, our major objectives are just to get foothold, for sure just to steal credentials and defeat all of them. In the phase 2, we have to wait and try to analyze what are the defenses of the blue team. Because we have to probably just move to another attack vectors in order just to deface again the web servers. And in the phase 4, we have to destroy everything, as in the client side. So the tools that we are using in the web subteam, mainly the browser, some proxies like Barb or whatever that that our team just want to use. For sure, everything is, or mostly everything, is scripted, but sometimes the scripts are just failing, So we have to do some adaptation, or we have to do everything manually. And sure, some collaboration tools. We can just communicate by a chat, or we have to share some files in order just to try with different blue teams. I have to say that in client side, in web, or in net, there is not only one person through a blue team or through a target in a blue team. It depends on us, and it depends on the time. Probably our strategy is just to, okay, we are going just to focus only on this part, in this subnet, and we are going just to try to hack all of the system here through all the blue teams. Or probably we can just try to hack all of the system in 5 or 6 blue team, and our next colleagues in another sub-team try to hack like the from another 5 or 6 blue team. So it depends. We cannot say that one person behind one computer in the red team is attacking only one blue team. So the last part in the net sub-team, our main objectives, they are like the network devices, router, firewalls, and so on, and for sure the special system that later I'm going just to explain a little bit more. The phases, the objectives that we have to gain. Mainly in the phase 1 and 2, we have to gain persistence over the system and disrupt the services behind. In these 2 phases, mostly is a script, so mostly everything is automated. But in the phase 3 and 4, we have to destroy everything, and that's a part just for a manual work. We cannot do everything completely scripted, and also, if we have detected that some of our attacks with the scripts have failed, we have to do like manually, one by one, to the blue teams. So our methodology, we are using some misconfigured services, or probably just using some backdoors directly over the systems, or this is one of the part that probably the blue teams just forget, the default accounts. It's quite common that, for example, we have to follow some rules. Not only the blue teams, there are some rules in the exercise, and also the red team, we must follow some rules. But in the case of the blue teams, for example, if they are going just to change a password of some of the accounts, or all of the accounts, whatever, they have to inform to the white team. In order just to know, for example, the user simulation team, they are using that account, for example, in the workstation. So they have to inform, but we cannot know that the new passwords. So we have to try to get into the system with another techniques. And also there are some rogue hosts. Why? Because probably in some cases we need to do some man-in-the-middle attacks. So focusing on some of the special systems, in the case of the LTE, we have to control the telecommunication, the whole telecommunication infrastructure of every blue team. And also we have to impact in the availability of this service. So our main objective is just try to avoid use the infrastructure by the blue teams. So there are some like funny facts. It's that this kind of attacks with some, for example, some netcat listeners that we can just try to connect to, or for example, if they are just changing the password of SSH, but probably they didn't remove the SSH keys, so we can just use it again, not only related to the password, so many different techniques that we can use. But the most funny part is that most of the blue team, they didn't expect our attacks over the network, over the LTE network. And also in some cases that it was impossible for us just to attack the gateway, we just go directly to the clients and just set up a new AP and try to get directly the clients. In the case of the water purification system, we have to disrupt the service in phase 2 and phase 4. And also, it must be balanced, like the the reliability versus the security of the system. Also, there was like a file server just to, with all of the logs of the water purification system that we can just use with some JavaScript injection or some PHP injection just to get into the logs, or just try to delete all of the logs or change it. There was, at least if I remember well, one of the blue teams that were just sending some Modbus commands every few seconds to the PLC directly. I mean, they are trying just to recover to the previous state, and it was great. But in the case of other blue teams, we were injecting some Modbus command through Python and later through PowerShell, and it works. So the difference between different blue teams. In the case of the power plant, if you remember from the presentation of Silver, we have like one PLC for every blue team. So we have to unbalance the steam flow in order just to rise or just to fall directly the grid frequency. When that happened, the firecracker just blow up. And that's that we really want just to do directly with the old PLCs, just sending some commands directly to the PLC, or there was like the back mode that we can just interact directly with the PLC in order just to set up manually the frequency, or we can just access directly to the TIA portal, because if they didn't change the password or something like that, we can just interact directly with the PLCs. But there was some really nice blue team that were reprogramming from zero the PLCs. So we didn't have the opportunity just to do anything with that blue teams. And in the case of the power grid, if you remember the RTU wall, in the phase 1 and 2, it was just to get into the systems. And in phase 3 and 4, it was like the destructive phase. We have to switch off the lights, or at least try to manipulate the RTU. The RTU has got a web server, and probably we can just get into and try to modify the configuration directly of the RTU. Or, as Silver explained before, there is like an HMI just to send the commands from the SCADA machine directly to the RTU. So it's a workstation. If we can just get into the workstation, probably the client side just give the access to the net guys in order just to share the shells, and probably they just can interact directly with the SCADA system. Or just sending, with the help of some rogue host, try to send some malformed packets directly to the RTU through the 104 protocol. So there are like different techniques that we are using in order just to destroy like the lights of like a nation that it's the one blue team it's behind. So what next in the red team? All of the red team, we are just doing some practice in the rest of the year, attending some courses. We always need to be completely update our skills. For sure, we have to adapt, like every day, every month, every year, to the new attack vectors, to the new technologies. But what happened with the blue teams? In the last Black Hat, there was a study also talking about like the fight in red team and blue teams exercises. But also there are a lot of companies doing exercise, I mean red teaming exercise inside the company, just to know if the employees of the company, they are ready just to defend from a real attack. But what happened with the blue teams? So there was a study done in August of this year, that first of all, the top skilled blue team, probably we have to follow like the same ways. They have to communicate as we, for sure, work in a team, as we are doing in the exercise. Also, they need to know like the common techniques and attack vectors that we are using, not only during the exercise, also probably from real attackers in the real life. For sure, threat detection. They have to I think there are some blue teams also in Logshill. They are preparing the exercise with a lot of effort, and they are just trying to select some red teamers just to play with them, with the blue team in the nation, exactly that blue team, in order just you, the blue team can learn something from the red team, and also the red team can learn something more from the blue team. So I think it's like a collaboration work between all of us. For sure, the time of the incident response, it's very important. If the blue teamers are just trying to detect our first attack from the first day, but they are just detecting on the second day, probably they are going just to lose everything because we have control everything in the system. So they didn't have like the chance just to react quickly. And for sure, persistent in all of the systems and in all of the exercise. And that's all from my part. I don't know if you have any question, or probably we can just answer all questions after that, after the rest of the presentation.
So do we have a short question? Sandra? And thank you, Sandra. Thank you very much.
Thank you.